look at creating a cropped 3D view. These are real handy when the building elements itself are obscuring some of the items that you actually want to see. Uh, for those of you who don't already know, don't ever start the Revit application by double-clicking a Revit file. All the Autodesk programmers will basically tell you this is a bad idea. So as you can see, I've already got Revit up and started. I am going to be looking at the ACC project, but a good rule of thumb, don't click on any shortcuts that you have here. Always, always, always go to the open menu item over here, and I'm going to look at this file right here that says ACC, and always make sure that your checkbox here is on. If you see it like that, then this could create problems for everybody else working on the project. Just make sure the checkbox is on that says Create New Local. I'm going to click Open. If you see this, don't panic. It just means that you're doing something right, basically. So just click on Overwrite Existing File, and we'll take a second or two here to launch this this file open. And of course, watching a video where you're waiting for the file to open that's on the video is always the most exciting part. We're getting there. We're almost there. Almost. There we go. Now, because I'm using a smaller resolution screen than you are, a few of these icons are going to be shifting their position ever so slightly. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move my project browser over here so it's a little bit more visible. So what I'm going to be looking at is I need to zoom in. I'm going to zoom in on this area here, and I want to see this area in 3D. But how can I see this area in 3D but not really have to deal with the entire view? Well, temporarily you have to have the entire view, if only for a small amount of time. You look here and under our 3D views sections, and there are a ton of them, but you don't know if any of them are what you need. So the first step after the file is open is click on your View tab, and then what you want is 3D view, and you can just click on the little house button right there, and it will create a default 3D view of the entire model. And this will take a second because there's a lot of information here that needs to be calculated and shown for this 3D view. There we go. Now, obviously, I'm looking at this, and this is a little more information than I really wanted to see in one shot. Now let's zoom in a little bit. That right there looks like the stair tower that I'm interested in. So how do I crop out all the information that I don't want to see? Well, that's over on the Properties window in our 3D view, and I'm going to scroll down just a little bit, and we're going to see this entry that says Section Box. When I turn Section Box on, it's going to activate a part of this view that acts as a 3D crop window. Let's pull back a little so we can see what's going on. There we go. So you can see this guy right here. That is our three-dimensional crop view. You can see it's got, it's a cube, it's all 6 sides, and every single face of it has got the little up-down arrow. So I can take the bottom of this, I'm going to pull the bottom way, way, way up, because I don't need it to be, a half mile deep into the ground. Now, what's interesting is and it's one of the nice things of Revit, just because I'm working in this view with this element doesn't mean that I'm limited to working in this view. Now, as soon as I click out in space, it will deselect that object. So I want to click on that object, and I'm going to since my floor plan view was open when I created this one, I'm going to hold down the control button on my keyboard and push tab, and that's going to switch me around to the other view. Now I'm still not going to left click, but I'm going to use my scroll wheel and pan out or zoom out until I can see that's my section box that's highlighted. And panning and zooming in, just a reminder, panning and zooming in Revit is just the same as panning and zooming in AutoCAD. You can use your scroll wheel. Now I can take my left click button and I can grab a hold of the edge of this section block, and I can pull it in to begin cropping information out. Now it's not going to show anything different on this plan because this section box is not applied to this plan, but this is a good way to help see, or to help see the section box and what it's actually affecting. So I'm going to make these changes. I'm going to zoom in again so I can see what's going on. I'll put that section box in there. Okay, now I still have not left clicked in space because my section box is still highlighted, but I'm going to press Control Tab again to go back to my 3D view. And now when I zoom in, you can see this is the only 3D information that I'm really dealing with at the moment. You can see the section box is still bigger than it needs to be. So I'm going to pull him up and in a bit. Obviously, we're still seeing more of the model than we want to. Now I could make these modifications back in the 3D view, but sometimes it's easier to do this it's easier to make these changes in a plan view. So I can put it right on that wall, and I'm just going to squeeze this in and make it nice and tight on this staircase. Now what happens if I want to see what's inside the staircase? I go back to my 3D section cut, and you can see how this is all pieced together. But I actually want to see beyond the walls. Well, I can just zoom in some more. I can grab that section box and I can pull it in to where it's on the inside and do the same, so that section box is inside the stairs. And it's going to take a little fine tuning to get it right. So you can see we have another wall here. We'll pull him in a little bit more. There we go. Okay, Control Tab, and that's my section, a cropped 3D view. So now how do I turn around and start looking at this thing from all my different angles? There's two different ways of doing it. One is I'm left click out in space so I can deselect that section box and pull out again, because you can see all these big funky green things everywhere might not be what we want. I mean, we don't want to see that. We don't want to worry about it. We want to focus on our staircase. So I'm going to hold my mouse over there. I'm going to push the tab button until one of these objects is highlighted. I'm going to click my right click button, and I'm going to say hide in view this category of object. That way I'll turn off all those green boxes. So how do I spin this thing around so I can see it from all angles? Well, the two different ways you can do it. One is to grab a hold of the little view cube here, and I can just left click on this corner and I can spin him around, but as you can see, he wants to spin around based on the center point of the project, not based on the center point of what I'm actually looking at. So if I right click out in space, I just want to say zoom to fit. Another trick to use is if I select my section box, and now if I hold my shift key down and then I click on my scroll wheel, then I can also use my orbit tool just the same way as clicking on this little guy right here. But because I'm using my scroll wheel and I've selected my section box, at least I'm pretty sure, yeah. Because I've selected my section box first, I'm actually orbiting and changing my angle around the center point of the object or objects that I have selected. I hope that makes sense. So this is the way that you can spin this around and look at all the angles. So again, select the object that you want to sort of orbit around. Hold down your shift key and click your scroll wheel, and then you'll be able to spin this around and just freewheel all over the place. When you're done doing what you're doing, there's two different options here. If you click on close and close the file, you will be prompted. You haven't synchronized with the server yet. Do you want to discard changes? Do you want to relinquish elements? You can certainly do that, but it's real easy for things to also go wrong in the process. So the easiest way to do it is, you notice we have a save icon, and then we've got this funny little Christmas package with the green synchronize icon on it. You want to click on this one. I want to click on synchronize and modify settings. So this way your cropped three-dimensional view of this area will be saved to the file that's on the server. And you just want to, all you have to do at this point is click OK with the synchronize with central dialog, and it will take the changes that you have made and put them back on the server. Again, if you're absolutely positive you don't ever want to do that, let me restate that. If you're certain that you don't want to save your changes, then you can just close the application, and every single message that Revit sends to you about, do you want to synchronize with Central, you would say no. Do you want to relinquish your elements? This one is kind of important, and I'll run through this here in a second. Do you want to relinquish your elements? The answer is yes, because the file on the server is going to keep track of everything that you've touched. And until you relinquish, until you're giving up touching these objects, the file on the server is going to assume that you're still touching it, and it will not let anybody else on the project team touch that information. So let's give that of course now it's going to do that. So file, close. Since we just did a save to central, it's not going to give me any grief. So that's really a good and safe way to do it. And considering that this is the architect's model, chances are we are going to get an update to it. So anything that we do can very easily be undone if the situation really, really requires it. So there you go. All right. Talk to you later.